Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's topic is the structure of the eye. The eye is a specialized sense organ and is a part of our sensory nervous system. Through the eye, we are able to see and perceive vision. The human body has a pair of eyes, with the right eye on the right side and the left eye on the left side. Although both eyes are structurally separate, they work together in coordination. While we can see an image with one eye, we cannot perceive a 3D image or judge speed and distance accurately with just one eye. This is why both eyes must work together to provide proper vision. Function of the eye. The eye is a specialized sense organ responsible for receiving visual images. These visual signals are converted into electrical signals, which are then transmitted to the brain. The brain interprets these signals to form an image, allowing us to see and recognize objects. Shape of the eye. The eye is almost spherical in shape, though it is not a perfect sphere. Diameter of the eye. The diameter of the human eye is approximately 2.5 centimeters, 25 millimeters. Location of the eye. The eye is located within the orbital cavity, also known as the eye socket, which is a bony cavity in the skull. Protection of the eye. Between the eye and the bones of the orbital cavity, there is a layer of adipose tissue, fat. Function of adipose tissue. It acts as a cushion, providing protection to the eye and preventing injuries. The combination of bone and adipose tissue helps in protecting the eye from external damage. Connection and nerve supply of the eye. The eye is connected within the orbital cavity through ocular muscles, which help in its movement. It is supplied by the optic nerve, which is the second cranial nerve. The optic nerve is responsible for transmitting visual signals from the eye to the brain. Structure of the eyeball. The eyeball is divided into two parts. 1. Anterior part. This is the front part of the eye, making up 1/6 of the eyeball. It is the visible part of the eye that we can see from the front. Second posterior part. This is the back part of the eye, forming 5/6 of the eyeball. Wall of the eyeball. The eyeball wall is made up of 3 layers of tissue. 1. Outer fibrous layer. This is the white, tough outermost layer that provides protection to the eye. It consists of sclera, the white part of the eye, which maintains the shape and structure of the eyeball. Cornea, the transparent, dome-shaped part at the front, which helps in focusing light. Middle and inner layers of the eye. Now, let's discuss the middle and inner layers in detail. 2. Middle vascular layer, uvea. This layer is responsible for nourishing the eye and consists of 3 main parts. Choroid. This is a dark pigmented layer located beneath the sclera. It contains blood vessels that supply oxygen and nutrients to the eye. The dark pigment helps reduce light reflection inside the eye, improving vision clarity. Ciliary body. This structure connects the choroid to the lens and contains ciliary muscles, which help in changing the shape of the lens for focusing on near and distant objects. Accommodation. Iris. This is the colored part of the eye that controls the size of the pupil and regulates the amount of light entering the eye. The pupil, the black circular opening in the center of the iris, expands or contracts based on light intensity. 3. Inner nervous layer, retina. The retina is the most important part of the eye, as it contains photoreceptor cells that detect light and send visual information to the brain. It consists of rods. These are sensitive to low light, night vision, and detect black, white, and shades of gray. Cones. These detect color and bright light and are responsible for sharp vision. The human eye works by focusing light on the retina, which then sends signals to the brain. The brain interprets these signals as images. How light enters the eye. Light enters the eye through the cornea a clear, dome-shaped layer at the front of the eye. The pupil, an opening in the iris, controls how much light enters the eye. The lens, a clear inner part of the eye, works with the cornea to focus light on the retina. How the retina processes light hits the retina, a light-sensitive layer of tissue at the back of the eye. Special cells called photoreceptors turn the light into electrical signals. The electrical signals travel through the optic nerve to the brain. How the brain processes the signals. The brain decodes and processes the signals. The brain uses the signals to build the image you see. The eye also has muscles that can change the shape of the eye to focus on objects near and far. The sclera is the white, fibrous tissue that covers most of the eye's surface. It extends from the cornea to the optic nerve. The sclera is a protective layer that supports the eye and helps maintain its shape and intraocular pressure. Structure. The sclera is made up of collagen. The sclera is made up of collagen, elastin, and proteoglycans. The sclera has 4 layers: the episclera, stroma, lamina fusca, and endothelium. The episclera is the outermost layer of the sclera. The stroma is made up of tough collagen fibers. The lamina fusca is made up of elastic fibers. The endothelium is the innermost layer of the sclera. Function: the sclera protects the eye from injury. The sclera helps maintain the shape of the eye. The sclera helps maintain the intraocular pressure. There are 3 types of cones: red, green, and blue, which help in color perception. The cornea is the clear, dome-shaped layer at the front of the eye that protects the eye and helps refract light. It's made up of 5 layers. Epithelium, the outermost layer of the cornea, which includes epithelial cells and a basement membrane, Bowman's membrane. The second layer of the cornea, stroma. The third layer of the cornea, Descemet's membrane. The fourth layer of the cornea, endothelium. The innermost layer of the cornea, function protection. The cornea protects the eye from debris, germs, and ultraviolet radiation. Refraction. The cornea bends light onto the lens, which then focuses it onto the retina self-repair. The cornea has a fast, effective ability to repair itself. The choroid is a thin layer of tissue that lines the back of the eye, between the retina and the sclera. It's part of the middle layer of the eye wall, also known as the uvea. Structure. The choroid is made up of 4 layers: Bruch's membrane, the choriocapillaris, Sattler's layer, and Haller's layer. The choroid is thickest at the back of the eye and thins out towards the periphery. The choroid contains melanin, which gives it color, function. The choroid supplies oxygen and nutrients to the retina. The choroid helps regulate the retina's temperature and intraocular pressure. The choroid forms the uveal tract with the iris and ciliary body. Location. The choroid surrounds the rear 2/3 of the eyeball. The choroid sits just underneath the sclera and just above the retina. The choroid extends from the margins of the optic nerve to the pars plana. Related conditions: choroidal ischemia can occur as pale hexagonal patches. In albino humans, melanin is frequently absent and vision is low. The ciliary body is a ring-shaped part of the eye that controls the shape of the lens and produces aqueous humor. It's located in the middle layer of the eye wall, behind the iris. Parts of the ciliary body: ciliary muscle, a smooth muscle that changes the shape of the lens when the eye focuses ciliary processes, contain capillaries that secrete vitreous humor into the eye. Pars placata, the anterior portion of the ciliary body that's contiguous with the iris pars plana. The posterior portion of the ciliary body that's continuous with the choroid functions of the ciliary body. Accommodation. The ciliary muscle contracts to round the lens for focusing on nearby objects, and relaxes to flatten the lens for focusing on distant objects. Aqueous humor production. The ciliary epithelium produces aqueous humor, which provides nutrients and oxygen to the cornea and lens. Lens zonules. The zonular fibers attach the ciliary muscle to the lens capsule. The ciliary body is part of the uvea, which also includes the iris and choroid. The iris is the colored part of the eye that controls the amount of light that enters the eye. It's located in front of the eye, between the cornea and the lens. Anatomy. The iris is made of muscles and nerves that work together to control the pupil's size. The iris is attached to the ciliary body at its periphery. The iris divides the space between the cornea and lens into the anterior and posterior chambers. The iris is part of the accommodative reflex, which is an involuntary response that changes the pupil's size when you focus on something close. Function. The iris controls the size of the pupil to let more or less light into the eye. In bright light, the iris contracts, and the pupil becomes smaller. In dim light, the iris relaxes, and the pupil becomes larger. Eye color. The iris gets its color from melanin, pheomelanin, and eumelanin, which are naturally occurring pigments. The amount of melanin your body produces and certain genes determine your eye color. The retina is a light-sensitive layer of tissue at the back of the eye that converts light into electrical signals and sends them to the brain. Anatomy. The retina is made up of photoreceptors, bipolar cells, ganglion cells, horizontal cells, and amacrine cells. The retina is circular, about 30 to 40 millimeters in diameter, and about 0.5 millimeters thick. The retina is fed oxygen from a dual blood supply that divides the retina into inner and outer layers. The retina is the only part of the brain that can be seen from outside the eye. Function. The retina captures light and sends signals to the brain. The brain processes the signals into a visual image. Retinal damage can cause vision loss, gaps in vision, or total blindness. Eye exams. A healthcare provider can use an ophthalmoscope to see the retina. Photos or scans of the retina can show things that the provider cannot see with an ophthalmoscope. Ultrasound can be used to see the retina if other eye problems block the view. Vision problems, changes in sharpness of vision, loss of color perception, flashes of light or floaters, and distorted vision. Other important structures of the eye lens. The lens of the eye is a transparent, curved structure that focuses light onto the retina. It's located behind the pupil in the posterior chamber of the eye. Structure. The lens is made of lens fibers that are arranged in concentric layers. The lens is supported by the vitreous body. The lens is suspended on the ciliary body by the lens zonules. Function. The lens focuses light rays that enter the eye through the pupil. The lens fine-tunes the focusing of light onto the retina. The lens's ability to change shape allows it to focus on objects at different distances. This is called accommodation. Aging, the lens's ability to focus and transmit light decreases with age. This is due to the inability of lens cells to be replaced and the inability of lens cell proteins to turn over. This condition is called presbyopia. Damage. The lens is susceptible to damage from aging and environmental insults such as UV light. Aqueous humor. The aqueous humor flows in and out of the front of your eye. Its job is to keep proper ocular pressure, eye pressure, in your eye. The pressure is maintained by having the same amount of fluid come in as the amount of fluid leaving the front of your eye. This fluid fills the anterior and posterior chambers of your eye. Vitreous humor. The vitreous humor is a gel-like substance that fills the vitreous cavity of the eye. It's made up of mostly water and collagen fibers. Location. The vitreous cavity is located between the lens and the back of the eye. The vitreous humor occupies about 80% of the eye's volume. Function. The vitreous humor helps maintain the transparency of the vitreous cavity. It also regulates the shape and growth of the eye during development. Changes with age. As people age, the vitreous humor undergoes a process of liquefaction. The fibers of the vitreous humor pull away from the retina, which is called vitreous detachment. Composition. The vitreous humor is made up of extracellular matrix, collagen fibers, hyaluronin, fibronectin, and other proteoglycans. It's mostly water, with a water content of between 98 to 99.7%. Optic disc, blind spot. The optic disc is the part of the eye where the retina and optic nerve meet. It's located at the back of the eye and is also known as the optic nerve head. Structure. The optic disc is circular or oval and is paler than the rest of the retina. It has a central depression called the optic cup, which can vary in shape. The optic disc doesn't have photoreceptors, so it creates a blind spot in the eye's visual field. Optic nerve fibers. The axons of about 1.2 million retinal ganglion cells converge at the optic disc to form the optic nerve. The optic nerve fibers exit the eye through the lamina cribrosa, which is a collection of connective tissue plates. The optic nerve enters the skull through the optic foramen. Optic cup size. The size of the optic cup can be an indicator of retinal diseases. An enlarged optic cup can be a sign of nerve fiber loss, which can be a characteristic of glaucoma. Optociliary shunt vessels. These vessels connect the choroidal and retinal circulations on the optic nerve. Fovea centralis. The fovea centralis, also simply called the fovea, is a small pit-like depression located in the center of the macula lutea on the retina, responsible for providing the sharpest vision due to its high concentration of cone photoreceptor cells, allowing for detailed central vision. Key points about the fovea centralis. Function. The primary function of the fovea is to provide high visual acuity, enabling us to see fine details clearly. Location. Situated in the center of the macula, which is itself located in the posterior part of the retina. Structure. The fovea is a small pit or depression, meaning it is slightly indented compared to the surrounding retina. Photoreceptor cells. Unlike other areas of the retina, the fovea contains almost exclusively cone photoreceptor cells, which are responsible for color vision and sharp details. Clinical relevance. Damage to the fovea, such as from macular degeneration, can significantly impair central vision. Thank you